Council members who are here and members of our consular corps, representatives of some of the various communities of Houston who help make this such a great city, and I appreciate their support today. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Sir?
Two questions. One, the first one, the exact languages have not been determined. Is that accurate?
Correct. Because it's not about them, other than we will continue to do virtually everything we do in Spanish. But these 5 critical languages that we want to move forward with, it's going to be determined on the basis of the need of that particular language group. And the reason it's not simple, as I said, is that there are some immigrant groups here who have great English facility and some that don't. A particular challenge, although there is refugee groups that come who are often completely dislocated, don't have English language training in their home countries, and have a whole host of other issues that they have to work through. So working with the departments will decide what information is critically needed in an emergency situation or to navigate the city process, and we'll work with the communities to determine what the top 5 most needed language translations are.
And lastly, do you foresee hiring new people, or if you look at some other international cities, Paris or London, they have those flags at the top of the website, so you click a flag and everything translates. Is that something you're looking at, some web-based processes?
Yes, however, the goal is not to put everything that we have into a multitude of other languages. Again, with 100 languages spoken here, more than 100 languages spoken here, it would be difficult to do. Our goal is not just to put the city's website into access, but that critical information, that it's brochures, it's getting it out into the community, it's putting it in our community centers, and getting it directly to the people who need it. So it's a combination of both. That's more the long-term goal. Short-term goal is to figure out what critical documents must be translated, and then we'll work with the various communities to decide what languages we hit first.
Mayor, demographic patterns change. Today's top 5 may not be the top 5 10 years from now. Will there be a process of reviewing which are the most needed languages over time?
This is intended to be a dynamic process, and yes, languages will change over time. Who knows what will happen in the world and where, I hate to say this, but where the next wave of refugees might come from. And we have to be prepared to address that. Now, once we do the work of picking the 5 most needed languages, as resources become available, we can add to that and we can change over time.
Mayor, what institute do you have available that actually track the effectiveness of this program?
Well, the good news is that we're not the first city to do this. Now, this is actually quite common, as was mentioned, throughout Europe, where you have many different language speakers in close proximity to each other. But a number of other U.S. cities have gone down this path. I'm glad Houston is joining them. This is not designed to be a big money program. It's designed to, again, critical information, starting with the most needed languages, and we believe it can be done largely with existing city resources, although we will work with some outside groups on helping vet the information that we're going to translate and to provide the translation services.
What is the extent of this plan? I mean, will we see major street signs in different
No,
languages?
and as I said, this is about critical information. Now, we already have, as a economic development and cultural benefit for living in the city of Houston, there are parts of the city where you have street signs in Chinese, and there's parts of the city where you have street signs in Vietnamese. That's more of an identifier for cultural areas. That is not the goal of this process.
Mayor, can you give us an idea when you say one community might need certain critical information, somebody else might need something? What kinds of information are we talking about if you're not talking about websites and street signs?
We are talking about website information accessible on the website, but we're not talking about going out. Again, if you're going to function here in Houston, you're going to learn English. ultimately. That's the only way to really function in an American city. However, we recognize that we are an international city, and 20% of the people in this area are foreign-born, many non-native speakers. The critical information we're talking about, as I've mentioned, is health and safety. Do you know what to do if a hurricane comes? Can you navigate the municipal court system? If your child needs to be immunized, where do you go to get that? How do you access the health department and their information? In a public safety situation, what information might you need to convey to a police officer or a firefighter? That's what we're talking about. This is not about putting foreign language information around the city of Houston. It is about taking vital city information and making it accessible to everyone who lives here. It was an excellent question about the fact that these most needed, not most common, but most needed languages may change over time. We are a destination of choice for many refugee populations. Part of that is because we are already so diverse. Part of that is because Houston has a strong economy, and part of it is that Houston has a welcoming population, and the various groups from all over the world blend together well here. We don't want to lose that. We want to continue to be a magnet for both foreign investors, foreign immigrants, and to do the right thing as a refugee resettlement area.
Will this require hiring new staff?
We're going to begin with existing staff. We will use a contractor or consultant to help with the actual translations to make sure that we get it right. But the first 6 months is really about identifying where the gaps are and what the most common information. I had a meeting with many of the people who were with me today that deal particularly with immigrant and refugee communities recently to talk about what the most difficult things are. And one is, and it's not a direct City of Houston issue, but how do you get on a bus in Houston? Actually, there are many Houstonians who don't really know how to get on a bus in Houston. How do you get on a bus in Houston? What information do you need? How do you figure out a bus route? We hope that by the City of Houston taking this step, that some of the other government entities here will help in this process as well, and we can learn from each other and share information.
Why now? Is there a specific situation that led up to this plan?
There wasn't a triggering event. This is just part of the evolution of Houston. We've grown really rapidly as an international city, and sometimes we have to stop and take stock of whether we're doing all we can to make sure that we continue to grow successfully as a magnet for international development and trade, and providing the right access to city services for those who come here is part of that evolution.
Mayor, have you partnered with the Harris County Petition Court in discussing this and seeing whether they're willing to go on board with this particular program for translation, particularly for the first responders that are
I haven't talked to Harris County about this. That's an excellent question. But I know that the commissioners understand just as well as I do how important it is to make critical public safety information available to everyone who's here. And I trust that my colleague Judge Emmett, who is the emergency preparedness head for Harris County, and all the cities work with and through him, understands the need to make sure that something like hurricane evacuation information, that we figure out the best information and the critical languages to get that out, for example. Anyone else on this issue?
What's the timeline? You said 6 months to go over it with individual communities, and then what's after that?
Well, 6 months it's a bifurcated process. We're going to start internally, asking each department to designate someone to carry this forward, reporting through Mr. O'Neill. But what information do they consider that every citizen ought to know? What do you do if you smell a gas leak at your house. That would be really helpful to know for someone who might not have ever experienced that before. But the people in the different departments need to make that determination, and then we will work with the contractors who will help vet whether they think that that is in fact the appropriate information, whether what we are saying in English should be translated directly, or whether it can be repackaged or reformatted better for a non-native English-speaking audience, and then help to do the translation. So we're not gonna wait 6 months. It's gonna take us probably 6 months to get all the information compiled and make the connections before we'll be able to roll it out into the community. And the people who are standing here today are some of the folks who are gonna be involved in making sure we make the right connections.
Anything on anything
This
else?
has been a pretty amazing week internationally for Houston. I know I had 2 council members today who mentioned multiple international events. I also personally met with a commerce minister from Cote d'Ivoire, but I know Councilmember Burks and Councilmember Christie. Councilmember Christie, I think, had 3 different international meetings that other council members may have as well. We had, because this is Ramadan, I personally attended two iftars, and I know that several of the council members did as well. We're already an international city. We need to figure out how to do it better, to be a more welcoming and efficient city for all those who come here. And it's not about changing who we are, it's about being better hosts, but it's also being more efficient in the delivery of city services. So thank you for those questions, and I'll take other questions.